So we start this off Shiki, who's a Oni. He can basically control his own blood and all that good stuff. So bro's just an absolute delinquent with a bunch of weapons in his room. Then we got his dad, who really isn't his dad, but kinda like his sensei, pulling up to his room cause he just heard bro got suspended. So he tries to throw a punch but misses entirely. And overall, these two really don't have the best relationship. After a while, the dad had to go do something, so he drove off. And as Shiki's practicing with his pistol, he ends up hearing some explosion outside. And in the first episode, they already about to get us into some action. He gets grabbed by this black whip thing and gets dragged outside. Then we got this old guy in a white suit, basically trying to kill Shiki since he's an Oni. And just in time, we got the old man coming back and driving right into him, and then taking Shiki away from his assassinator. Then we get an explanation of Shiki having Oni blood inside of him while getting chased by the other guy trying to kill him. They end up getting caught though, and Shiki gets taken away in his building. And it turns out this old dude's from the Momotaro agency, where they exterminate people of Shiki's kind. But you know his dad ain't gonna let him die, so we got these two preparing themselves for a battle. And for the first part of the series, I actually messed with this, I ain't gonna lie. These two old dudes going at it, but obviously there's gonna be one winner. So yeah, this guy right here is dead now. So you already know what that means. Incoming rage moment from our main character. He starts to transform and bro's about to go crazy. We get to see his Oni form, and bro's an actual demon. He's finally awakened. He ends up giving this Momotaro agency guy a run for his money and pulls out some blood demon weapons. That shit hard. He got a blood rocket launcher, minigun, pistol, and probably an AR. But he ends up transforming back and he's shocked from what just happened. A line for our opening, but his foster dad ends up saving him while also sacrificing himself. So now he's dead for real. And then someone else pulls up and takes Shiki out. We got Shiki chained up like he's Kaneki, and basically he's being tested on his abilities. He ends up going in his berserk form and then ends up losing. Then this dude right here gets an explanation of Shiki losing his memory and his own consciousness, and basically tells Shiki that he's a waste of time. So Shiki decides to swallow his pride and begs to work under this guy's side, which he ends up getting accepted. After Shiki proved that he can control a little bit of his blood abilities, he's now taken to Rasetsu Academy, a military academy that focuses on training Oni to fight back against the Momotaro agency. And we end up meeting his class. We got Jin, and I already know he's gonna be my favorite character just cause of his design, so I had to bring him up first. Then we get to see everyone else in the class. Everybody gets taken to Shinra Forest, and they all begin their training. They have 1 hour to make it back to the academy without getting caught by their sensei, and if they don't make it, they're getting expelled. They also need to capture 2 balls during this, so everybody gets split into 3 teams. We got Homare, Shiki, and Jin on one team, while the others get on their opposite teams of 2. Everybody gets a 15-minute head start, and we begin. We got Jin and Shiki already getting ready to target each other, and we get to see what Jin can really do. Shiki makes the first move, and dude immediately catches a fist to the face. So he ends up having trouble fighting Jin since he's able to control his blood so well. He pulls out this last attack at Shiki, but then Homare comes out of nowhere and ends up having to get saved, which causes her to apologize profusely, and her power goes out of control cause she saw that Shiki got damaged cause of her. So her power creates this big huge blood demon monster that definitely has the chance of packing them boys up. Jin ends up attacking first, but his attack wasn't strong enough to really do anything. Shiki notices that Homare is losing too much blood as well, so he tries to pull her away until the monster stops him from doing so and protects her, and then spits out a huge amount of blood causing a bloody tsunami. Homare wakes up and tries to get the monster to stop, and we end up finding out that this thing is her big sister. Shiki hears this too, and even when Homare told him to run away, he decides to stay there so he can save her. So he tries to figure out how to control his blood so he can use his abilities again, but nothing seems to be working. He gets hit by these rocks, and then he gets a flashback to his foster dad dying. And then he starts crying about being weak. Then Jin tells him to do that lame shit somewhere else. And then he walks up to the blood monster and pulls out his abilities. He jumps and slices up everything in his path and tries going for the head, but he ends up getting the arm instead. Meanwhile, Shiki is still not able to do shit. But then he starts to realize how everyone else is able to use their abilities, and he's starting to understand it now. And he finally pulls out his ultimate weapon and shoots that bitch in her chest, causing everyone to be shocked from the amount of damage he was able to do. And then in the end, he goes down because he used too much of his power, causing anemia to happen. So Naito tells him that he has long ways to go if he wants to fully control his blood abilities. Meanwhile, Jin comes in for sneak attack and could care less about everybody else and decides to fight Naito himself. And Naito doesn't even use his blood in this fight, and this nigga has roller skates on while he's fighting. But then he creates a smoke screen from his umbrella, and then he shoots rubber bullets from that hoe, trying to keep his distance. So Jin pulls out his long range move and is able to get Naito to move, but as they get in the air, Naito throws a smoke grenade, tricking Jin once again. He disappears and then comes back from behind Jin, hitting that boy with a back shot. right into that boy. And obviously, he wins against him. Then we learn that Jin's dad's from the Momotaro agency. We get his backstory about his dad messing up his life and stuff, and then he ends up breaking out of Naito's trap, but then he gets slammed back onto the ground again. And then he's told that dying for your goals is meaningless. And then we get a meaningful talk between everybody, and Naito ends up calling someone to get the school nurse, that way they can get the injured. Shiki's able to move, and then Naito says that Shiki has 5 minutes left to take the ball that he has, or to look for the last one elsewhere. So he runs off to find Jin and tells him to work together for now. Shiki ends up being the decoy, and Jin comes from behind and completely misses the ball, but he was able to capture Naito. Shiki runs after the ball, and instead of grabbing it, this idiot just smacks it in the air. But Jin gets in there and runs off, and Shiki's proud of what he just did until he realizes that he's about to fail because he doesn't have a ball. But wait a minute, Jin comes back, and as he does, we got this little creature named Muka, who has his tape recorder on his back, telling these three that the Momotaro agency is attacking or whatever. So everyone ends up grouping up, and they head to their destination. We see 2 Momotaro members. This dude's name is Tsubakiri, and his girl's name is Yomugi. They were basically just killing Oni and doing their job, and low-key, these 2 are ruthless as hell. There is his kid Oni, and they just beat on bro with no type of remorse. And then everyone else arrives at the Oni agency Kyoto base, and we meet a new character, Koya Urizaka, who's the commander of the base support unit and was also an old classmate of Naito. Everyone ends up seeing some patients that were injured during the attack, and we see Koya show everyone the work that he does. Meanwhile, we got Miss Big Tits over here and this other guy who just took out the commander and the vice commander of the Oni. So Naito comes in showing no mercy to those 2, but they use his own members to defend themselves, and they've been trying to find a place in Kyoto that has all the Oni. That way they can take them off the map, so Naito has to stop them. Koya uses his blood for this one guy who lost his limbs, and he helps get some parts back, but he ends up having to retire from the battle unit. However, he's able to work in the support unit, and he's even hooked up with some prosthetic legs, that way he can move at least. Koya then explains that this could be anyone in the future. He ends up yapping some more too, and calls this base his battlefield. For the time being, Koya tells Shiki to look over Mei, a little girl whose family got attacked by the Momotaro agency. So he tries to talk to her but gets the silent treatment. But she ends up speaking and talking about how she's never been to school, and later on we got a group of people bringing in the injured. And Mei happens to see someone that she knows, and it turns out to be her parents. Then back to Naito and everyone else, Tsubakiri uses abilities, which turns out to be him manipulating corpses. So back at the base, Mei's dad's a victim to this ability, and he ends up choking her, leading to Koya attacking his brain. But then Shiki gets choked by the mom now, and then Koya gets grabbed by the other bodies. But Shiki was able to grab Mei, that way she doesn't see her mom die next. And after Shiki apologizes for what he's about to do, he shoots her mom right in the dome, and then he lets loose on all the other attackers. So as he helps Koya, Shiki's now in charge of dealing with the craziness in the main hall. We got the other classmates all together fighting to control corpses, while Shiki gets rid of the ones in the hallway. Then back to Naito once more. He attacks, but ends up attacking more corpses, and he ends up dealing with Tsubakiri's research pet. He then tells the rest of his members to go back to the hideout, but Yomugi ends up trapping them with her own ability, leading to no one having a way to escape this cube. And then they let that monster thing in there with Naito and all the other Oni, and as the 2 walk off, Tsubakiri snaps, which causes the monsters to blow up inside that cube with everyone else. And it's looking like Naito's the only one that survived as of now. Everyone else ended up defeating the corpses. Mei ends up accepting her parents dying, which Shiki goes and hugs her, telling her that he's going to make a world where she can smile again. We got Jin and Koya walking to the cremation site, and then Juji using his ability to detect if there's any danger close by. Then these 2 end up going down this basement, and then Tsubakiri finds Koya and stabs him. Jin tries attacking until Yomugi gets behind him and tries to trap his head, but she ends up trapping his arm instead and ends up breaking it a bit. And then she uses her ability to trap everyone in the base, and now they gotta fight. And it wasn't even a match at all. This dude got KO'd in 1 hit. This nigga's ass. And as Tsubakiri tries to use his ability, a bunch of their little pets come by with this rectangular item. Meanwhile, Jin ended up leaving and arriving to everyone else, but more of those things started appearing. And goddamn, they be using CGI a lot, bro. What the fuck? But I'm gonna ignore it for now. Everyone ends up running to different areas, while the Momotaro decide to kill everyone instead of Shiki. Then we got the blondie and the shy guy, and they end up in this room together. She ends up changing into an outfit that will allow her to move more freely, but we already know what the creator's trying to do. Let's put her in a sports bra and some tight ass shorts and have her fight monsters. That way we can grab your attention. She tells the other dude to hide while she deals with the monster, and the monster ends up speaking, wondering if she's Shiki, where she obviously says, "No, I am not Shiki." So the monster ends up attacking, and then she pulls out her blood ability and creates these bloody gloves, getting ready for some action. Roku peeks out his hiding spot and sees the monster right on his face, but ignores him and goes to Kuina. And due to her ability, it ends up listening to her, allowing her to punch her in the face. She does it again, and again, and she doesn't stop too. She keeps on going till this thing can't move no more. So this bitch is low-key crazy. But one more monster appears in the room, so you know what she's gonna do. She's gonna try to fight it, and she wants all the smoke, but she ends up getting her ass whooped. She gets stomped on and it's not looking too good for her. So Rokuro has to be the one to save her. And then we're given his backstory. He had a crush on a girl named Lulu, and she was the reason for bro's confidence. But she ended up dying to an illness, which messed him up mentally, until he realizes that, damn, he's really been a bitch this whole time. So he finally grows some balls and saves Kuina, and we get to see him use his blood ability. He transforms and then overpowers the monster. Naito wakes up and looks like everybody survived the explosion. Shiki finally meets Tsubakiri and Jin's fighting Yomugi. And overall, I feel like the show got potential. Just stop doing this CGI shit and just give regular ass animation. But maybe I'm gonna give it some time and wait for it to bloom into something better at least. But either way, I'm out. I'll see y'all on the next one.